Hey, everybody, I'm Matt. This is the 10-Minute Bible Hour podcast. When I was a kid, there were a whole bunch of sitcoms and different shows that perfectly coincided with coming-of-age stuff for me. And I remember the late 80s, early 90s sitcoms where there's a boy character on there, and he was figuring out girls and that aspect of what it is to be a middle school kid or whatever. And so I really related to the Wonder Years. That show feels like it corresponds very closely to my childhood. And I also remember watching an episode of Growing Pains with the Seaver family, but I don't remember Kirk Cameron's character's name. Kirk Cameron was like the boy, was trying to get the girl, and the girl was pretty skeptical of him, like, oh, you're a hotshot high school kid. I don't know what to make of this. And then Mike, gets left alone with the baby, right? Mike Seaver? I think that's right. Or is that Alan Thicke's character? Is that the dad? I don't know. The Seaver kid gets left with the baby, and it turns out that even though he's a hotshot, he's actually a really nice guy. And when you leave him alone with the baby, he talks to the little baby and takes care of the baby. And then I think the girl that he liked was hiding around the corner and what? What is this? Oh, he's nice to babies. I guess he does have a good heart after all, because he passes the be nice to little kids heart test. Likewise, in the Bible, there is a be nice to little children heart test. There's some kind of sniff test indicator thing that the kids know something that the adults don't know, or at least it looks like this is a theme that manifests in the second half of the book of Matthew, because the adults that interact with the children, I view them as disgusting little grubby little urchins. Get out of here. You're messing with all of our stuff. And even the disciples, who are really good Christians, the first ones ever. So really good high ranking Christians, Peter's membership number is in the first 10, which is really impressive. And so you'd think they would get it, but children come up to Jesus in chapter 18 and 19. And it's the disciples are not really into it. Maybe they're trying to protect Jesus' time. I don't know. But Jesus is the children, they're a big deal. They get something. They're important. And there's not just something sweet and innocent and nice about them, but there's something about them that idealizes what it is to respond to Jesus the right way, to assume the right posture before Jesus. And so he says, let the little children come to me. And he issues this harsh warning in chapter 18 about anybody who would mess with these little children spiritually or even literally, and then not having really internalized the message over in chapter 19. I'll just read you this one. Then the little children were brought to Jesus for him to place his hands on them and pray for them. But the disciples rebuked those who brought them. Jesus said, let the little children come to me and don't hinder them, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these. And when he had placed his hands on them, he went on from there. And the disciples completely fail the Growing Pains, are you nice to babies and little kids test. And if there were any super hot Jewish ladies who were hanging out there in the Judean desert on this gigantic Jesus trek, and they saw that happening, they were like, I am not marrying those guys because they don't pass the child test. And that is how clerical celibacy was born. Little known historical fact, but I am here to help. So we got this little children thing, and the idea that they represent something, that they understand something, and that there's a litmus test in terms of how you respond to the little children. All of that is still very, very fresh in the text when we get to Matthew chapter 21 and the passage we've been looking at the last couple of days. Jesus comes into Jerusalem. People are excited about it. They don't totally understand who he is, saying he's a prophet from Nazareth. This is great. And then Jesus goes and purges the temple of the money changers and the people who were selling animals there. But it doesn't turn people off. In verse 14, it says, the blind and lame came to him at the temple and he healed them, which is really cool because that looks just like Isaiah 35 and the predictions about what it's going to look like when the Messiah shows up. And Isaiah 35 was pretty much directly referenced by Jesus when John the Baptist came to him or sent his representatives to Jesus and was like, are you the actual one? And Jesus is like, I don't know. Those blind guys can see now. Those lame guys can walk now. Who do you think I am? And then it goes on in verse 15. But when the chief priests and the teachers of the law saw the wonderful things he did and the children shouting in the temple area, Hosanna to the Son of David, they were indignant. So yesterday, we spent all this time looking at how the people who are supposed to have eyes to see, the people who are supposed to be the leaders, the religious leaders, the people with whom all of this friction is happening, they look at the situation and they can't connect the dots with Isaiah 35. They can't do the math on it that Jesus pointed out in Matthew 11 was incredibly easy math to do. So yesterday we talked about them striking out on that one obvious point, but they strike out on a second obvious point, and that they fail the growing pains Seaver little kid test as well. The religious leaders are irritated that the kids are out there yelling, well, whatever they're yelling. Well, I don't even remember what they were saying, but whatever. As well as Hosanna to the Son of David. Like, if they would have listened to what the little kids were saying, the little kids had the answer that they couldn't come up with. It's the Son of David. That's who it is. They fail the Know Your Old Testament prophecies about the Messiah test. They fail the have the simplicity and groundedness to look at a situation with your eyeballs and see what it is and make the obvious connection like a little kid can do test. And then Jesus hits on this, the blind will see and the people who can see will be blind, upside down kingdom values thing again, but being completely unaware that they are missing the point and being only able to evaluate the situation in light of politics and power and what move do we need to make next. Like, that guy said this, now let's get together and have a meeting and decide what we're going to say next. He said that, well, maybe if we go to him and we ask this question or say it this way, then we've made, they're in this stupid chess game that they're trying to play. And Jesus is playing an entirely different game. The children aren't playing this game. This is being children looking at things with their eyes and saying what it is. And so I guess they have a meeting probably. And then in verse 16, they're like, no, we're going to go to Jesus and we're going to say this to him. Do you hear what these children are saying? They asked him. Now, clearly what they're trying to do here, and this is going to become more evident as we get into Jesus being arrested and tried and all of that later on. They're trying to get him to own the words. They're trying to get him to endorse what the children are saying or denounce what the children are saying. Either way, it benefits them. If Jesus endorses what the children are saying, whoa, are you claiming to be the Son of David? That is a lofty claim and a bit problematic indeed. He's claiming to be the Son of David, folks. Do we really accept that? On the other hand, if Jesus is like, yeah, stupid kids, like, what are they even talking about? It's ridiculous. I'm son of what? I was on a donkey trip. I don't know why they're like that. Well, then the problem is solved as well, because now they have applied a little bit of pressure and Jesus is going to back away from the claims. We see all over the Gospels that this pressure application technique is employed by Jesus' enemies. In the home stretch of the gospel story, as we keep moving closer to the crucifixion, they're trying to catch him in something. They're trying to get him to say something, to own something they can take out of context. They're trying to dig up old tweets or get him to tweet something that is self-damning right now. And Jesus is infinitely more clever than these people. And he replies, yeah, have you never read from the lips of children and infants you have ordained praise? He just owns it. He doesn't care about the political risk. This is truth. What they're saying is the truth. One, why would you shut down the children who are modeling for the adults what it looks like to get it right? Two, why would you punish them for getting it right? Three, if Peter figured out who Jesus was because of the eye-opening effects of God on his heart, well, probably these little children have experienced the eye-opening effects of the work of God as well. Why would you shoot that down? And four, it's in keeping with the Bible and stuff that was meant to point to the Messiah all along. He's referencing something here from Psalm 8:2, and I'm stalling because I didn't mark it. And the Bible's a large book with lots of pages, and they're incredibly skinny. Found it! O Lord, our Lord, how majestic is your name in all the earth. You have set your glory above the heavens. From the lips of children and infants you have ordained praise because of your enemies, to the silence of the foe and the avenger. When I consider your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars which you have set in place, what is man that you're mindful of him, the son of man that you came from him? That's a familiar reference. We've looked at this before. You made him a little lower than the heavenly beings and crowned him with glory and honor. You made him ruler over the works of your hands. You put everything under his feet, all flocks and herds and the beasts of the field, the birds of the air and the fish of the sea, all that swim the paths of the seas. O Lord, our Lord, how majestic is your name in all the earth. It seems like this one has some turns of phrases that sound pretty messianic, but at the most direct level, what the thing seems to be about is God's glory transcending human glory and God's glory being so secure in itself, God being so secure in himself. that he's glorified in what he's made, and his creation even speaks for itself, and even from the lips of little children he's ordained praise. In other words, the truth and the reality and the glory of God is self-evident and evident even to little children who can open their eyes. And likewise, back in Matthew chapter 21, we run into the exact same principle. The fancy people can't see it. The little kids can see it. The fancy people are threatened by that. Jesus, as he did in chapters 18 and 19, sides with the little kids and points out that there's something exemplary and right about how they're coming at it. My buddy Shane Heilman, who did not give me money to say this, nor does he know I'm saying this, did a great version of Psalm 8 as a part of his larger Psalms project, and I want to play some of that for you on the way out the door. I'm Matt. This is the 10-Minute Bible Hour Podcast. Let's do this again soon.
Yahweh, our Lord, how majestic is your name in all the earth, in all the earth. You have displayed your glory upon the heavens, and from the mouths of children and infants you have ordained praise to confound your enemies and silence them. When I consider your heavens, when I consider your heavens, when I consider your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars